What's happening, fishing friends? Welcome to another episode. Today we're going to cover 5 lures that I think will really help you out this spring. Now, that's because spring has finally gotten here for me. Temperatures are warming up. A lot of my places should be unfreezing. And these are 5 lures that I'm going to use early spring. Now, I want to emphasize that doesn't mean these are only early spring lures. You know, folks down south, Texas, Florida, they've got bass on beds. You know, spawn is already happening down there. We're still a ways away from that up here in the Midwest. So enough of that. Let's get to lure number 1. My first lure is going to be the Berkley Fritz-side flat-sided crankbait. Now these come in 3 different sizes, the junior, the regular, and the big end. They've also got, you know, different diving depths, but I specifically wanted to talk about just the regular old Fritz-side 5. This is something I had a lot of success on last year. Really like the lure. Now, the deal with the flat side is, you'll notice here when I show you this, flat-sided crankbait like this really excels at fishing in colder water. That flat side, that skinnier profile, gives it a tighter wobble action, which is great for cold water. You don't want something that's hunting crazy and doing all kinds of erratic action. Generally going to be fishing a little bit slower, and something with a little bit tighter, a little bit calmer action, because bait fish are going to be cold as well. They're not jumping all around going crazy. The other thing that's cool about this is it's made to mimic the action of ball slits. So this is a plastic lure. It is, you can hear the hooks, but this is a silent lure. There's no rattles or anything in it. You can see there, only 1/3 ounce. It does dive 2 to 5 feet, which is another reason I like this for bank fishing, specifically the 5 size, because a lot of the spots I'm fishing are that exact depth. Now, like I said, it's meant to mimic, you know, a balsa lure, but a lot of the balsa lures out there cast like crud. They're so light, you know, they'll kind of flip-flop in the air almost like a potato chip. This thing casts well. It's got that plastic body, which is a little bit more durable. It's another thing about balsas, they're not the most durable of lures. Now with these 5 spring lure picks, of course, I will link everything down below in case you want to check any of it out. Of course, I did partner up with Tackle Warehouse, so anytime you use my links below, a little bit of that comes back to me to help me out. And I'm only going to talk about one specific lure in each section. Some of my other videos I'll do, like, you know, I pick a flat-sided crankbait and I might show you 4 or 5 and talk about. Today I'm picking one because they're the ones that I've used, I've got confidence in them, and they're ones that I'm going to be tying on. And for each one, I'm going to go over my rod, reel, and line combo, which we need to talk about now. Oh yeah, and the colors. I will also go over each color. The Midnight Pearl has been the most productive for me around here. I mean, that's like your pearl, blackback, very standard shad type imitation. There's a honey something, and then there's also a red one. Did I have that? No. There's also a red one I caught a few fish on last year, but again, I'll link the colors and everything below. Now, for rod, reel, line, we're going to start out with a budget combo. So this is a combo that I got at Walmart. It's the Shimano Caius combo. So the rod and reel, I think normally is like $130. Walmart had it on sale for 98 bucks. I know there's been a number of other places people have said they've got this. Great little combo for small crankbaits like this. This is a 6'8" one-piece rod rated for lures 1/4 up to a 1/2 ounce, medium power, fast action. Perfect for smaller, shallower diving crankbaits, you know, something where you don't need a ton of distance to cast. You know, with this shorter rod, it's easier to whip in and around, you know, trees and stuff, bank fishing. You can be a lot more accurate with it. And in the spring, sometimes, you know, once that water starts heating up and those fish move up shallow, they can get a little bit spooky. So this allows you to cast right where you need to and put it in there nice and soft. Now, the reel, again, the reel comes with it. So this is the Caius combo. This is the 7.2 speed. 7 speed is my all-around favorite for cranking. Some guys like to go to a 6 speed, but when I'm fishing up shallow, I like to have that option to burn it a little bit quicker, and then I can just slow down if I want to. And for me, a 7 speed does that best. Now for the line, I went with the copolymer on this. So for this one, I went with the P-Line Flora Clear. This stuff is nice and soft, casts really well, and it's got a little bit of stretch to it. It's also got the benefit of having that fluorocarbon, you know, kind of clearness to it, harder to see in water, but it's still got a stretch. So it's not, you know, like your regular fluorocarbon that's harder to stretch, but it's not as stretchy as a mono. So it's kind of in between, which I like for something like this. You know, it's not completely a dedicated crank combo, so it's still a fast action. That's pretty true to this. So that line gives it just a little bit of stretch, so when you hook those fish, believe it or not, I don't know how it happens, you can have a fish bite a lure with 2 treble hooks and still miss or throw those hooks off. So with the line with a little bit of stretch and this medium power rod, you can keep those fish pinned. Just make sure that you're not completely locking down your drag. If they want to run, let it out a little bit. But that is combo number 1. Lure number 2 is the jerkbait. Now this is something that I throw early spring, late fall. It's an absolute staple. And it seems like the past few years, I've always had a day where I have 30, 40 fish on this, you know. When those fish are piling up on those main points, those secondary points, a suspending jerkbait like this is absolutely deadly. You know, if you watch the pros and other people on tour, they will say that oftentimes there is no better way to actually trigger a reaction strike than with a jerkbait. That dart, dart, dart. and this is suspending, I should say, suspending for spring for me. Dart, 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 and then it just sits there, just hanging out. And, you know, 9 out of 10 times, you'll work that jerkbait, pause for a second, then when you go to work it again, there's a fish on there, and it's such a fun bite to get onto. So specifically the I'm a jerkbait, I've had a lot of really good luck with this the past few years. There was a bluegill purchase type color, they have a ghost minnow type color, and then this white color. Those have been the 3 big colors for me. And I'll kind of dictate my color depending on the conditions. You know, bright, sunny overhead, cleaner water, I'll go with a more translucent natural look. If we want a bit of a flash, you go with like, you know, a silver or a foiled side, or it's a little bit cloudy or maybe just a little bit dirtier water, you can go with something like this opaque, a solid color. I like this because they've got 2 different sizes. Last fall, I was fishing one of the shallow divers. Just wasn't getting the bites that I wanted to. That's the 100 size for this one. 3/8 of an ounce, and it runs 3 to 5 feet. So I switched over and tried one of the deeper diving. It's the 120 size, weighs a 1/2 ounce, and it dives 6 to 8 feet. And that made the whole difference for me. I tried one of my other jerkbaits. I tried actually a 6 Sense Provoke, which is another really good jerkbait. But I needed something that dove just a little bit deeper. And once I switched to that, my day completely changed. So it's an easy jerkbait to work. You know, some of the jerkbaits you work, they don't have like the best action. You got to like be a little bit poppier to them to actually get them to go. That darting hunting action with that jerkbait to get it and draw that fish's attention and then just pause there on a dime. And this bait does that really well. It's not hard to get it to do that. I also like that it comes with good hardware. It does come with good sharp hooks. They are number 6 hooks, so a little bit smaller hooks. Keep that in mind when you're picking a combo. You're not going to, you know, use a medium heavy rod, a big 7/6 heavier rod to really lay into these fish. Smaller hook. Okay, so for the combo, I really like this, the Lew's TP1X stick. This, the white rods you've probably seen from them. These rods, actually, I really like at the price point, 99 bucks, which I think is where you kind of step up from the stuff to once you start getting to 100 bucks for rods, even 150, you get a really nice jump up. Now this is a 6'8" rod, medium light, fast action. 6 to 12 pound lines what they recommend at 1/8 up to a 1/2 ounce lure weight. There's a look at that jerkbait I was throwing this fall. That's the one that caught all those fish. 50 fish day with me and Brando. Man, we found them piled up. Just like in the fall, you can still find that in the spring when they're moving from those deeper waters. Again, up to those main points, secondary points when they're looking to do their whole spawning thing. But that was the rod. The reel was the Okuma Serrano. Now, this is not an aluminum framed reel. I think it's like 80 bucks. But it casted lighter lures and it casted the jerkbaits pretty dang well, which is something, again, the jerkbaits can kind of get all wibbly nibbly all in the air when you're casting them. But these are just simple magnetic brakes, easy to tune in. And then 12-pound P-line tactical, 100% fluorocarbon is what I like for jerkbaits. This is a pretty soft rod, being a medium light. You can't see that, so this does no sense. But a pretty soft rod, so when you pull into those fish, you can keep that rod bent. And slack line or a straight rod is how you lose fish. That's what gives them slack, able to throw those hooks. You want to keep that rod bent. A tight line, that's why people say, hey, tight lines. But anyway, 12-pound fluorocarbon, good do-it-all size for me. Now remember, you can dictate the depth of your jerkbait, how either high in the water column or how low you're going to get it to go by changing your line. So if you wanted to drop down to an 8-pound fluorocarbon, that lighter line is going to allow that lure to get down deeper. If you were fishing over grass or something, maybe you jump up to like a 15-pound, or if you're working a little bit bigger jerkbait, 17-pound, and keep it up higher in the water column. So keep that in mind. But that was my do-it-all jerkbait rod and reel combo. Nice little combo that didn't break the bank. Worked well. Okay, lure number 3 is one that I absolutely love throwing in the spring. It's a great search bait. You can throw it at all sorts of depths, do a whole bunch of different things, and that is a lipless crankbait. Something that a lot of people will call any lipless crankbait a rattle trap. That's the Bill Lewis rattle trap. This is one of the most well-known and abundant lipless crankbaits out there. You go to Walmart, you go to Dick's, you go to, all kinds of places you can find a Bill Lewis rattle trap. They come in a ton of colors. I used to throw just the silver and gold. So silver cleaner water when you had a little bit of sun, gold in the dirtier water when you had a little sun. However, I was really missing out by not throwing a red color. This is their cherry craw. This is the bear trap. But a red lipless crankbait, it's probably been 7 years ago. Randy and I went out and I was joking because we're like, oh yeah, they always hit the red in the spring. It's something we've heard all the time, right? Fish love red in the spring. I never got into it. I never threw the red. Well, like 7 years ago, Randy and I did it. I threw a red lipless crankbait on and I caught the snot out of them. And that was the day that turned, because as soon as you have a day like that with a lure, that's what turns an lure into a confidence lure, or a lure you want to throw more, right? So ever since then, we either go out early spring and we have I'll say a couple week time where we usually get on a really, really good bite at a few spots around here. So a red lipless crankbait in the spring is an absolute must. They've got all kinds of other crazy colors out there. Of course, the old root beer. And of course, my old man's favorite, the Tequila Sunrise. This is one y'all saw me throw last fall. Had a really, really good day on that too. Caught some really good fish. So tons of different colors readily available, and you can find it on sale. I think normally they're like, $6, something like that. But you can find them on sale at Walmart and places for, $4 or $5. So it's a good budget lure. The other thing I like about the Bill Lewis rattle trap is you can really go down the rabbit hole of these, different types of noses, different types of shapes. To me, this is a perfect do-it-all shape. The nose is wide enough that it still comes over wood and rocks pretty well. It's not completely weedless, trust me, you'll lose some, but comes over stuff pretty well with that nose. And it's a shape that you can yo-yo well. I like to do that early in spring. You pop it up and let it fall. And again, it's kind of like the jerkbait on the slack lines, usually when they hit it. So it's got good rattles in it. It kind of does a little bit of everything really well. It's not a specific, niche. Oh, I only fish this one on the bottom, right? Only yo-yo this, or this has a real big, front end nose deal here, so it's great in wood. This one kind of does it all. As for the combo, I really, really like this one. This is the Okuma Guide Select Crankbait Rod. This is a line of rods I really don't hear people talk about, and they're awesome rods. The fit and feel in hand of this rod is awesome. Love the way it sits in the hand. It's got a nice slick part here, so I always hold and kind of finger my line like this. You can see that. Fits there, it's nice and comfortable in hand, and it's a crankbait specific rod. Now this is a graphite rod, it's not a composite, so some people might say, well, it's not gonna be bendy enough or have enough of a parabolic bend, right? Well, the thing is, when I'm fishing a lipless in the spring, I'm looking for spots where I can find grass patches or, right along rocks. And if I'm yo-yoing or popping a lipless, I personally don't like a super duper floppy parabolic rod, because when you pop it out, I like to have just a little bit of backbone so I can pop it out of there. And this one has done that absolutely perfect for me. This is a 7-foot medium, rated 8 to 17 pound line, 3/6 to 3/4 ounce lures, and has done spectacular for me. I like it a lot. The line, I go with the 15-pound fluorocarbon. Now, if you were, fishing somewhere where you thought you might lose them, or you could go to a copolymer or a monofilament, but I just had a 15-pound P-line tactical on here. And the reel, another one that I really, really like, this is the Lew's Custom Pro. This is the Gen 2. Randy right now, I guarantee, is huffing and puffing because this is the Gen 1. I borrowed his Gen 1 Lew's Custom Pro to do a review, and I still haven't done this comparison / review. So I will be doing that soon, comparing the Gen 1 to the Gen 2, as long as I don't break the rod tip. This is a reel that I've really liked. Now, speed on it can vary. This is a 6/8 one, so I like that it's in the higher 6 range. Again, very close. A 7-speed or a higher 6-speed is what I like. That way, if I want to burn it, I'm not completely overworking myself. But if I want to slow down over spots, I can do it with a reel like that. Lure number 4, if you've been around my channel or watched my lives at all, it's probably not going to be a big surprise that it's a spinnerbait. Yes, slow rolling, a larger spinnerbait, something with decent sized blades. And actually, where'd my other ones go? Even something with a big Colorado blade in that muddier water absolutely kills in the spring. Slow rolling a spinnerbait. Now, as spring goes on, you can fish it around grass, around wood. A spinnerbait is something that I throw really all year. All year you can get bites on a spinnerbait. Now, specifically, this is the Cumberland Pro Lure spinnerbait. This is their new spinnerbait, the Hydro, I believe it's the Hydro Spin that they updated last year. But I like this one because it's a good all-around kind of medium size. It's not a super huge one with, the big crazy blades on it. But again, it's not like a little tiny, some of the like War Eagle Finesse or like the Pond Magic Booyah, a little small compact spinnerbait. To me, this is a great do-it-all size. It does come in the double willow or a tandem, which, I've got tied on. So they give you a number of different options. And then for colors, they keep it pretty simple. So a lot of shad type profiles. I think they've got one in pink. I like a white and chartreuse spinnerbait. So you can see here, that's what this one is. But a little tip, now I'm not even going to charge you for this. If you've got a white spinnerbait and want to add some color, put a little paddle tail, or you can even use a grub, anything. I'm not putting this on here for the action. I don't really care about the action of the tail. Sometimes I'll do this on a spinnerbait when it's a little bit windy and I want a little bit more weight to it. Or when I want to add a little bit of color, and you can see how that color from that plastic really pops in there. I will do that sometimes, so that's a tip. The other thing I like about the Cumberland lures is they have good components on them. So this is a super sticky sharp. As you can see, they're sticking right into my nail. Gamakatsu hook. It's a 0.35 wire, which again is kind of that middle range. It's not super stiff where you could say, oh, you could catch, 50-inch pike on this. You know, you still could, but you know, it's not that thick. And it's not a little light wire. Now, sometimes when you get into the lighter wires, that is going to give you more blade movement and more vibration and such. That's a whole different deal. But, you know, just a good all-around lure with a good price. I think they're like $7. So they're not crazy overpriced. Good options, good components on it. Has worked well for me. Now for the combo, I should say, usually I'll throw a 3/8 if I'm fishing pretty shallow, close stuff. 1/2 ounce is usually my go-to if like I don't know what I'm going to be fishing. Cast a little bit better. That was my notebook. Cast a little bit better. You know, when you've got a little bit of wind, sometimes a spinnerbait with the blades and everything, again, can be kind of wonky to throw. So that's when I'll jump up to a 1/2 ounce. Okay, the combo. Y'all saw me throw this a lot last year too. This was a Walmart special. I had a bunch of people ask about this. I don't think they sell this one anymore. Let me know, comment below if you still see this one or if you want me to do a review on it. I don't know if it's still available. I think they've got a new Jeff Sprague Xfinity. A couple people sent me pictures of it. It's like a bright orange lightsaber looking rod. But this is the Lew's Xfinity. Again, this is a I think $99 combo from Walmart. Rod, reel, everything. And again, on like a chatterbait or a spinnerbait, you don't have to go crazy expensive, especially if you're fishing, you know, shallower, close targets. This is a 610, allows me to be a little bit more accurate around that wood. You know, you're not feeling those little tiny bites like you would, you know, maybe a finesse jig or a Ned rig or, you know, something like that. You know, I'm throwing it. Oftentimes, fish will absolutely crush the spinnerbait. And speaking of, this is one of those that is tandem, and Cumberland Lures has the red kicker blade. A lot of companies don't even do that. Kind of upsets me. But in the spring, a red kicker blade like that can make all the difference. So I like that they have that. But a lot of times they'll crush it or come up from behind it and you'll feel the spinnerbait blades going, and then you'll just feel kind of like dead weight, or you hit something and there's no more spinning. Swing, it's free. It's either grass or something you got on the blades. You're either going to pop it free or you're going to pop it right into a fish's mouth. So again, this was a 610 medium heavy, rated for lures up to 5/8 ounce, 10 to 30 pound line. I either go 15 or 17 pound line, just kind of depends. This one's low. I think I caught this in a tree and lost quite a bit of line. But this one I had 17 pound. I think this was actually the Flora Clear as well. This might have been Yozuri. No, I think actually this was the 15 or 17 pound Yozuri. I think 17 I had on here because, again, gives you a little bit of stretch. Now, the thing with this rod, it's not super beefy. With a chatterbait or a spinnerbait, and this is going to be a whole nother video. Hopefully we'll have somebody special come on and talk to us. But I like a rod with some give. That way, by the time the fish comes up and grabs it, because like with a chatterbait, even with a spinnerbait, they'll come up and grab it from behind. And if you've got a real stiff rod, as soon as you feel that tick and pull it, you can pull it away from them. Whereas with a rod that kind of loads, by the time that fish grabs it, your rod's bending over, you've got a little bit of stretch in the line. That hook, that rod is already starting to set in that hook before you pull into them and set that hook. So I like a little bit of a delay, a little bit of a stretch in the line. So that's why I went that. Otherwise, you could go with complete fluorocarbon if you wanted to, kind of your deal. But this is a 7-speed. What is it? 7 to 5-to-1 reel. Again, my all-around favorite. Some people argue you want to go with a lower gear speed ratio reel if you're fishing a larger spinnerbait, because it can put a grind. A lure with a lot of resistance like that can really put a grind into that reel. So a lower power or a lower speed reel has more power, more torque. It's easier to twist in. But I still like the 7 speed. So that has been kind of my budget combo. You can go crazy on all these, but I'm telling you, fishing doesn't have to be expensive. The more important thing is get out there and fish. Okay, lure number 5, last but not least, of course, it's gotta be a Ned rig. I absolutely love the Ned rig for spring fishing. Now you could argue, I know, again, Randy and probably a bunch of other people are kicking the TV saying, what, Debo, you didn't pick a jig, especially a finesse jig? Absolutely you can. There's so many, this is only my top 5. There's so many good lures out there depending on how you fish, where you fish. You know, if you're fishing in Florida, it's gonna be a whole lot different than fishing in, you know, a super clear deep lake in Michigan or Minnesota, right? So I'm here in the Midwest in Iowa. I luckily have kind of a little bit of everything. So a Ned rig, whether you're fishing a pond, whether you're fishing, you know, a big, huge Lake St. Clair, a Ned rig gets bit anywhere. It's a small profile. In the spring, I like to go with something smaller like that. I mean, you've got all kinds of stuff. These are Ned rigs that a subscriber sent me. There's, you know, of course, the Z-Man TRDs. And one actual spinoff that I like is the Z-Man TRD craws. Here in Iowa, we've got a ton of those little crawfish. You know, in Texas, you see the big red crawfish and, you know, all these crazy looking things. But here in Iowa, we've got a lot of the smaller craws. And I think that little small TRD craw mimics that absolutely perfect. Now, we've got some rusty craws that get pretty big too. But, you know, that little easy morsel, it's a size that catches all kinds of fish. I've caught, of course, dinks on it. I've caught bigger fish on it. It's something that catches fish everywhere. Now, this is one where I didn't pick a specific plastic. I mean, you've got all kinds of things. They've got like the little Ned Rage Tail deals. Berkeley's got the little General, which actually looks really like a rusty craw. If you are someone who fishes from the bank, I urge you to try this type of head. So you can see this is weedless. Instead of the standard, I don't know that I have one here, the standard, Ned mushroom style head where the hook is exposed. If you bank fish, this has changed things for me a ton. When you come over a piece of wood or a log or you get to grass, you don't get hung up all the time like you would with like a regular Ned rig. With this, you can kind of pop it, you can swim it, you don't have to worry about coming up on stuff like that. So if you're a bank angler, you can see here, it's just, your regular EWG style head, just like that. Super sharp, but you can put that up in the plastic there and expose it for when you're around stuff and don't have to worry about losing it all the time. Okay, combo. On all my spinning combos, I don't care what it is for me, I am 99% pretty much all the time going braid to a fluorocarbon leader. So this is a 15-pound P-line TCB braid in that kind of green color. And then I go to an 8-pound fluorocarbon leader. There you go, you can see there the fluorocarbon leader on it. That way I get the benefits of both worlds. Again, with a Ned rig, I'm looking for those finesse bites. Sometimes they'll just kind of suck it in and you can't even feel that bite. You can't deny the sensitivity of braid, way more sensitive than mono and fluoro. However, when you tie that fluorocarbon leader, I tie my leader knot so it doesn't go down into the reel. I usually have it so it's like right in here between my reel and my first line guide when I go to cast. I don't want the knot going down in here. But when you cast that lure out, you've got still that fluorocarbon that's harder for the fish to see underwater. So you get the benefit of both worlds. This is the Shimano Neck Save reel. Again, not a crazy expensive reel. The big thing for me on spinning reels is, does the drag work? And as long as the drag is consistent, that's my line and reel. I personally like a 3,000 size reel. I don't like to go super slow. I feel like you have less, super small with like 1,000 size or something. I feel like you have more line management issues. So like a 25 or a 3,000 size reel is my favorite. And then rod. So this is a 7-foot medium heavy fast for a 1/4 up to 3/8 ounce lures. Depending on where you're fishing at, I like a rod that's just a little bit more backbone to it, not super spongy spinning rod, but a little bit more backbone to it, because oftentimes we're fishing around fishing jetties, kind of bouldery rocks. And if you've got a real spongy rod, again, it can be really hard to pop those lures up and over that cover. However, if you have a rod like this, I usually hold my rod like so and just kind of pop it. You can just pop it over those rocks and such. Oh, and the rod, did I even tell you? I'm sorry. That's the Veritas PLX Tournament Edition. Absolutely love this rod. One thing for me that's really important is that it doesn't have a bunch of stuff here on rods. I hate when spinning rods have like the big hump here, and I don't know, it's just not comfortable for me. I generally hold my rod like this, usually with my pinky back behind the reel, and that's how I like to work it. So I don't like stuff where there's a bunch of deals here. All right, fishing friends, that's going to do it for me. Comment below and let me know, are your favorite spring lures, do they match mine? Do you have stuff that's way different? Comment below and let me know. I always like to hear from folks because, heck, one of you may have an idea, or you fish my area and say, Debo, try this, and it might be a game changer for me. So always love hearing from you all. Love to try to help out when I can. Speaking of folks, today's fishing friend is my guy, Jake Westfall. Jake always watching my stuff, commenting on Instagram. It means a ton to me when people continue to support me. I'm just a dude who loves to fish, so I would not be where I'm at. And I think a lot of YouTubers and, celebrities and other people forget that they wouldn't be where they were if they weren't popular because of their fans, right? So I always try to make a deal to say, everybody, I appreciate that, because I really do. I would not be here without y'all. So Jake, everybody else who continues to support me means a ton to me, but it's late. I need to edit. Those are my 5 spring lures. I want to do some more of these because I love talking lures and gear. But enough from me. Thanks for watching, and until next time.